Right, so I've spoken quite a bit. I've put quite a few articles on the Facebook page around using gelatin to promote metabolizing into collagen inside your body for the repair of bone injuries and tendon injuries. So I've got quite a few articles on that, and I think you'll see one on the posted on the page as well today. But actually making your own base of gelatin to use whenever you want is really, really simple, and depending on your butcher, often will cost you absolutely nothing. So if you look at gelatin on the pack of jelly that you're going to use, or wherever you buy gelatin, it'll mostly tell you that it obviously comes from pork or from pig trotters. And it's really, really dead simple to make yourself. So the first thing you really need to do is go to your butcher and ask for some pig's trotters. Some butchers will charge you a small amount, many will just give it to you for nothing, simply because it's something that they normally throw away. So, and you can obviously use as many pig's trotters to make as much as you want to store. That will normally last, you'll keep in the fridge for a week or two before it starts to go a bit moldy, and you need to use it. So obviously don't make too much at a time. So just to kind of show you the process that I go through for making it, I'm just going to go through using a single pig's trotter. So there we go. I've gone to my butcher, who's given me a pig's trotter. I normally make 3 or 4 at a time, but for the purposes of today, I'm just going to make the one. So really, what you'll do is you'll take that pig's trotter, and you'll firstly get some water on the boil. So at the moment, I've got a pot of water on the stove, busy coming to the boil. And once it's boiling, I will throw the pig's trotter in for about 2 or 3 minutes, just to get the scum off the surface of it. And then I will throw that water away and bring it back to the boil and let it simmer for 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, on a very, very low heat. So hard boil first, just to get all the scum off the top of it, as I said, and throw that dirty water away, and then put the pig's trotter again into more clean water and leave it to simmer for a couple of hours. Okay, so that's now been boiling for 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm going to take it off the heat now. So turn the stove off. I must be honest with you, that hasn't produced anywhere near as much of the scum and gunk that it normally does in the first boil. I'm not sure if it's just one very clean pig's trotter, or if it's just because I'm only using one rather than multiples. So what I'm going to do now, as I said, is I'm going to take that water off and throw it away, discard that water and put fresh water into it. So you're going to go and do that now. Get rid of that, as I say, just throw that all down the sink and then replace it with clean water. Right, so that's now been, the water's now been changed, clean water in there. And now, to be fair, you kind of got a choice. So depending on how you're going to use your gelatin afterwards, you can now choose to spice it up a little bit. In other words, if you're going to use this as a stock in stews and curries and just about anything else, and it works really, really brilliantly, then you can give it some flavor by now adding some seasoning, some salt and some pepper. Sometimes I put a bit of turmeric in there, whatever it might be. However, what I'm looking to do this time around is produce an almost flavorless, clear gelatin rather than something flavored to use in stock. So I'm not going to add anything to it now. I'm simply going to allow that to come to the boil, turn the heat really, really down low, and then let it simmer for a couple of hours to extract all the gelatin. Right, so there's our single pig's trotter in a pot on a gentle simmer, and it will simply be left like that to simmer now for 3 or 4 hours. And we'll have a look at it in a couple of hours time and see what we do next. Okay, so it's now been about 4 hours, 3.5, 4 hours since I put that onto the stove and let it boil. And obviously you can see it's producing a fair amount of steam as we go through that. And what you can see now is that there's pretty much nothing left of this trotter. It's fallen apart completely. Oops, I'm burning myself. And we've just got a bit of meat and skin, etc. on the bone. So what we're going to do now is to switch this plate off, and we're going to pour that liquid through the strainer, through the colander, into the bowl underneath. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to need to have 2 hands to pour this out. So I'm going to pause the recording, and then I'll show you what I'm left with afterwards. Okay, so I've poured the liquid now. I've poured it all through the strainer. You can see I'm left with all the meat and the bones, etc. Get the steam out the way. on that side. Now, to be fair, even though I'm not making this into stock, none of that's going to go to waste, because once that's cooled down, it's going to go into the dog's bowl, and Ozo will love it and enjoy himself eating all of that. And to be fair, the leftover gelatin in there, and all the healthy fats, etc., really going to do his coat a lot of good as well. So even the dog benefits out of that. So we'll move that out the way, and what we're left with here is this grey liquid over here, grey warm liquid over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that to cool just a little bit. Then I'm going to pour it through a slightly finer strainer just to get rid of any other bits of meat that might have got through there, and we're going to leave it to cool. So I'll just put the finer strainer in there now, and I can just pour the liquid through. As you can see, when it pours, it's almost a clear liquid, white liquid, which we just pour through there like that. Just get out the last little bits of that are in there, put that out the way, and that's the liquid that we have over there. And that liquid is pretty much pure gelatin, which what I'm now going to do is I'm now going to just leave that to cool down. First, initially, I'll just put it on top of the stove to cool down to room temperature, and then I'm going to put it into the fridge to cool it the rest of the way, and you'll see it'll then congeal up into a gelatinous substance, almost completely flavorless at this point. Okay, so it's the next morning. That's been in the fridge overnight, and you can see what we got there is a white flavorless jelly, effectively, which you can now, as I say, turn to liquid, putting into anything hot, and you put it in there. So I've already been to gym this morning, but just to kind of show you how it works, what we do is you take your gelatin substance and weigh off 15 grams, more or less. It's kind of the recommendation is about between 5 and 15 grams. Quite difficult to do this one hand, and I'm going to stick it in my coffee. So 2 spoons of that for me in there, and give it a stir. It just turns to liquid, disappears, and that's it. So next step is to take the coffee and have a drink. Coffee's a bit warm. As I say, that's completely flavorless and tasteless. You can't taste it. Goes in there. You can put it in stew, you can put it in stock, have it like that. Just anything to warm it up. Just if you really wanted to, just put it in the microwave for 10 seconds, turn it into a liquid again, and down it. You could spread it on bread, I suppose, if you wanted to. No, don't recommend that. But yeah, just dissolve it in something hot, have it, and about an hour later, go hit the gym. And I say, depending on, look at the attached study. If you're looking at doing it for injury prevention and recovery, then you're going to do a sort of heavy load on the right spot, or you're going to do sort of plyometrics type exercises if you really want to look at using it for adaptation to whatever muscle group you're going to be using for your sport. And there it is, how to make your own gelatin and supplement with that. Have a good day, everybody.